Berkham wrote a seminal book about the myths of innovation. He was concerned about the way innovation was being presented, and there are 10 myths that he identified. The first myth is one of an epiphany. The truth is that big insights occur after long and deep periods of incubation, often when we're thinking of other things. An epiphany is only the very last moment when all the pieces come together. People simply do not suddenly come up with an innovation, even if it seems as though we do. The next myth is that we understand the history of innovation. There is a view of a linear progression, yet innovative things come and go. Innovations get discarded as much more acceptable innovations get accepted through competition. Different things emerge because of decisions taken at that time in history. Around 1448, Gutenberg developed the printing press. But it worked because around the same time somebody discovered a way of making paper cheaply. Would we have the internet today if no one had found a way to make cheap paper? Decisions taken in the past determine innovations of the future. Another myth is that there is a method for innovation. There is no real beginning or end. Many textbooks present a systematic approach to innovation. Yet this is an example of how we do not understand the history of innovation. Innovation is messy, difficult, and surprisingly rare. It is more about being in the right place at the right time with the right idea and the right resources. The idea that people love new ideas is also a myth. Google founders tried to sell Google to Yahoo and Alta Vista, but they weren't interested. Darwin's theory of evolution didn't really take off until 1972, 120 years after he published his book. There are hundreds of stories where great innovations are rejected. We have an inbuilt survival mechanism to reject new ideas in favour of the tried and tested. There is a paradox here. The greater the potential of the idea, the more likely it is to be resisted. The idea of the lone inventor is also a myth. Isaac Newton is quoted as saying that he saw further only by standing on the shoulders of giants. What he meant was that without others he would never have arrived at his views on mathematics and physics. Today in your room you have electric light bulbs. This is artificial light. We believe that Edison invented artificial light. This is not true because we've been using artificial light for over 70,000 years. All Edison did was build on the work of others. So who invented artificial light? Nobody really knows. It is a myth that good ideas are hard to find. There are only ideas that work and ideas that don't. There's no such thing as good or bad ideas. We just tend to dismiss them very early. This is like an earlier myth that people love new ideas. Ideas that work emerge from a collection of ideas that are adapted and reframed. In our Enterprise Hub, we never make a judgment on a business idea. We say every idea is good, but then ask the participants to demonstrate how it would work. Another myth is that I know more about innovation than you do. You assume I know more because I'm in this video. The mistake you are making is that you are confusing power with knowledge. They are not the same thing. There is no way we can measure my knowledge against yours. But the real point is that if you bring an idea to me, I cannot say with any sense of certainty that it will or will not work. There is a myth that the best ideas win. The QWERTY keyboard on your computer made sense when typewriters were mechanical because it led to less keys being jammed by fast typists. But it makes no sense today. It is highly inefficient. If we were to invent a keyboard today, its layout would be very different. Also, the word good is subjective, framed by multiple factors such as cost or usability. Then there's the myth of solutions for all problems. However, there are problems and solutions, and then there are problems. Some problems are not necessarily easy to solve because there are not enough pieces of the puzzle available yet. This is connected to the myth of the epiphany. You have an epiphany because all the pieces are in place. Some problems cannot be solved simply because all of the pieces are not there to solve the problem. The last myth is that innovation is always good. But this is a bit of a trick point. Innovation in itself is neither good nor bad, but the resulting product or service could be both good and bad at the same time. Airplanes serve a dual purpose. They help us visit places we would never be able to visit, yet they can bring terrible destruction upon perceived enemies by bombing them. They can be both good and bad at the same time. You should keep all of these myths in your mind as you progress through this module, because they will help you understand the nature of innovation far better.